All right, good evening and welcome to the Class of 2025 presentation for the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. My name is Natalie Sieg, and I am the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program Coordinator here at Claremont High School. We have just recently become a candidacy school for middle years program, so now I have to say the whole length of my title all the time when I'm making sure that people know which program we're talking about. So this webinar tonight is intended for current 10th graders who are rising into 11th grade and have questions or want more information about the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. We have 43 people on the call tonight, so thank you so much for being here. And if I could get my student panelists to join us on camera, I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a minute. Give them a second. Okay, I've asked just a few students to come and join us tonight and help answer some questions. So I'm going to start with Addison. I do have a slide, Addison, you're going to talk later, but right now, if you'll just tell us what grade you're in and what HL higher level class that you are taking for IB, and then Navy and Angelina will go in that order.
All right. Hi, I'm Addison Wahlberg. I'm a senior at Claremont High School, and my current HL is IB Psychology with the lovely Miss Sieg. It's a very, very fun course.
Okay, thank you. Navy.
Hello, I'm Navy Davila. My HL pathway is psychology as well with Miss Sieg, and I'm a junior.
Thank you. And Angelina.
Hi, I'm Angelina Alcori. I'm a senior at Claremont High School, and I'm part of the biology HL course with Miss Tran.
Okay, fantastic. I love how they all included the teachers with their courses. It's very much so. We also tonight have Miss Abear and Mr. Troche from our counseling department who are helping me run this webinar. And there are a few more students who are invited tonight who might join us. So as they do, students, if you're here and I haven't caught your name, please put us a little note in the Q&A saying, can you please add me as a panelist? And we will get you added. And we can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. Here's how things will go tonight. I'm going to try to go through the presentation, go over the program. We will have an opportunity for our students to speak and answer questions. Students, please feel free to turn on your mic at any time and interject any information. People at home watching and listening in, please use the Q&A feature on the panel that you can ask a question. One of our students and our counselors might answer the question, or we might leave it to answer live as well. And I'll try to get to as many of the questions as I can. So we will cover some of these things tonight, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to close out some of these screens so I can focus. All right. So I have just a few pictures of some of our graduates. Last year we had our group. These were students who actually signed up to do IB during COVID, when we were all at home in this time of year, March, well, just about March, when everything kind of closed. They said, oh yeah, I'll do IB, and then survived the next 2 years and graduated. So this was a pretty special group to us. They worked really hard in very uncertain times. So I wanted to just give them a little shout out. We have other classes that have graduated before. Many students take IB and go off to do really pretty awesome things. This was my sad class of 2021. We did manage to have a little bit of a banquet outside that year. It's pretty wild looking back at what we've been through in the last couple of years, but the IB program has stayed strong through it, and we're really proud of that here at Claremont High School. So there's my smiling seniors just from last year. All right, I am Natalie Sieg. That is my contact information at the top of the screen. We have the lovely Maestra Suarez, or IJ Suarez, who is our CAS, and I'll talk a little bit more about creativity, action, and service later on. She helps coordinate that part of the program. Myself and Mr. Chamberlain help coordinate the extended essay, which we'll talk about again tonight. And our official IB counselor on staff is Miss Abear, who is with us tonight over in the panelists. All right, we've talked a little bit and I've had the students introduce themselves. I'm going to put you guys on the spot again, and I think we've added, let's see, we have one more person that was in Bridget. Okay, you're there. I'm going to have you guys all turn on your cameras. Bridget, why don't you start us off? If you will say your name, your year in school, your HL pathway, and then anything else that you've been involved in. And then if my other students have already introduced themselves, if you guys want to hop in too, we want to know why you selected IB, because everyone on this call tonight is really here to think about why would I select IB over maybe some other programs that are offered. So Bridget, we're going to start with you. Tell us your HL, and then also why did you select IB?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Bridget, as Ms. Sieg introduced me, year of 2023, so a senior this year. And the reason I chose IB is because I actually transferred to Claremont for the IB program. I live in Upland, and Upland High School, as amazing as it is, I'm not saying it's a bad school, but it does not have the IB program. And when I was really, really little, like in 8th and 7th grade, I was very, very interested in learning about things sort of just out of my reach, if that makes sense. Like, I loved learning Spanish because of how global it was. And when I found out that there was a whole diploma, which made you more global, I had to do it. And so I was lucky enough to be accepted as a transfer student. And that's really why I chose IB. I liked how it was global and it sort of zoomed out to look at everything that goes on in the world. And more importantly, your role in that. How do you interact with the global community? How can you become a better global citizen? And I feel like that sentiment and that awareness is important, not just in your fundamental high school years, but sort of lingers with you throughout the rest of your life, makes you more aware and more socially engaged. And so far, I think it has done exactly that.
Okay. I was going to ask you the follow-up question. Do you feel like your IB education has been different than your first 2 years of high school?
Absolutely, yes. I think as a freshman and a sophomore, you're still very much figuring things out and exploring what you like and what you don't like. And once you are a junior and senior, you have many choices, one of those to be in the IB program. And I think the IB program does a very good job at making you both more independent and responsible for your own learning, but also has quite a broad safety net. I know lots of people, when they select their courses junior year, are really uncertain about what they want to do. And even going into senior year, I know people who have changed their HLs, who have decided to switch out an SL or maybe test in a fourth SL, even though they don't need it because they want to see how they do. And maybe they'll use that instead. So it very much places personal responsibility on you. You have to choose your pathways. But if you are lost or stuck or confused or just need some advice or help or comfort, there's such a huge safety net of counselors, students, and teachers alike that are ready to catch you and walk you to the next step. So
Thank you.
I'm a big fan.
Okay, thank you so much. Addison, I'm going to call on you in a few minutes once I go through some slides and kind of get through the presentation. I'm going to ask you the same thing, kind of what was the origin story? Why did you select IB? And hopefully at any point, you guys can also jump in if you have anything to add to our presentation. All right, I'm going to go ahead. We're going to do some introductions as we just did. We're going to talk about the history and philosophy of IB, the program here at CHS, and is IB for you? Because really right now you're on the precipice of making a decision, families and students alike. Will they do the IB program? Will they choose something else? And so we're going to go ahead and go through that. And then any questions and next steps will also be addressed. So the IB is a global organization. The International Baccalaureate aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understandings and respect. And to this end, the organization works with schools and governments.
And international baccalaureate education has been.
I will send this out. You do not need to watch the video. I'm kind of going through that right now, but you can watch it on the IBO's website. Anyhow, these programs encourage students across the world to become active, compassionate, and lifelong learners who understand other people. This is the IB mission statement. And at Claremont High School, we really do try to aim to meet every part of this mission statement. We want our students to be globally minded, but more than anything, you can notice at the top of the mission statement, really inquiring students who ask questions, who know things, but also care for others, and then use those skills to make the world a better place. IB started its journey overseas. It's 1976 was its first intergovernmental IB conference at The Hague. And today, over 50 years later, IB is growing globally and especially growing within the United States. I love technical errors. What can I say? Hold on just a second. Oh man, when you haven't used Zoom in a while, this is what happens. All right, so you are seeing my screen, correct? We're all good now. Back up and running. All right. One of the major parts of the International Baccalaureate Diploma program that's different than a regular education in any other pathway is the learning agility that is taught. And so on the outside of this graphic, you'll see the different learner profile pieces. So the core of IB Diploma program is a philosophy of learning. And on the outside, you see these things: communicators, risk takers, balanced thinkers, principled, inquirers, knowledgeable, open-minded, caring, and reflective individuals. And all of these 10 profile traits are reflected in the things the students do. For instance, we expect them to do original work, create original work, and not use an AI software to write their essays. So that would be principled, right? We also want them to be caring and take care of other people. They might show that in one of their creativity, action, or service projects that they do. We want students to communicate, so they might give presentations in class, and they also might work together in groups. So those are just some of those examples. Those are all tied to 5 major skills called the approaches to learning. And those approaches to learning are the skills that the World Economic Forum, along with other major entities, agree are skills that make you successful in life beyond a knowledge base in a specific area. And those are in the center: self-management, communication, social, research, and thinking skills. So the first layer of the onion that we're talking about tonight is the pedagogical philosophy. And so that's what we've kind of just talked about. It's this global-minded, skill-based instruction that hopes to develop these very well-rounded individuals. Within that, because there's such a lofty goal, there are 6 areas of study that every student must take a course from, aside from group 6, which is the arts. That is the only non-required area. Every other area must be taken a course by a student. And then in the core of their curriculum is the core class, theory of knowledge. And within that theory of knowledge class, students also work on their portfolios of creativity, action, and service, and they write an extended essay. So I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. Addison, can you tell us about your extended essay?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so my extended essay was in the subject of history because I really love history. And so within the extended essay, it's a capped paper. It's within 4,000 words, and you're doing a complete deep dive into a subject that you're interested in. It's not something that's predetermined for you. It is something that you get to choose and get to develop on your own, which is one thing I really like about IB. And so I chose to look at the Salem witch trials, but specifically how the Salem witch trials was used as a form of oppression for women, and not necessarily in the sense of why the Salem witch trials was bad, but just how it was used to further hurt women and keep them lesser than men. And it was really interesting because there are surprisingly not very many books found on that subject. You can find a lot on the Salem witch trials, but man, when you start getting into the nuances of how it affected women, it gets really interesting. But you find it's kind of makes you develop your mind and understand that you have to do research, and these fields that you might go into when you get older, this is kind of the base work for those fields. So going into college, I know that I'm going to have to do essays similar to this, and I already have the base work of how to do research and how to find evidence that supports other evidence to support my analysis, so that I can write a paper that supports my theory and my thesis.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. We're going to go on to our next slide. So you're probably asking yourself why the International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. And there's been quite a bit of research because the International Baccalaureate is this international organization. They actually fund independent and external research to be done on their program. And so these are just some of the 10 major reasons why students choose the IB diploma. There's a larger breadth of study. So students get 6 areas that they become pretty highly focused in by the time they're graduated from high school. 3 of those areas they study are for 2 years. So they really get quite a bit of knowledge. experience and learning through CAS, through projects, through, we call them internal assessments, these papers students write, or sometimes lab reports that they do, or group projects. Freedom to choose, as Addison was just talking about, being able to select her topic for her extended essay. Research skills, independent thinking, and developing ideas. Most of the essays for the exams are open-ended. So really, if you can defend your position on either side of an argument, you can earn maximum credit, depending on how much you argue for your side. IB makes you a global citizen. It just makes you aware of the world around you. It definitely helps you to take on challenges in life. I think that my students, they say all the time, we can do hard things. And I say, yes, we can, because they have to learn self-management. This is a very rigorous program. But I think it leaves them, and I know this from speaking to alumni, they go off from here and realize how much they can handle because they've gone through quite a bit of challenge in high school. They take on the challenge, they learn time management more than their peers. They have vast university appeal at all levels. And really the largest thing, I think, for a reason, is personal growth. Students learn a lot about themselves doing the IB program, and it also allows them to learn how to be reflective and metacognate about their experience. And then once they leave high school, they carry those skills of being able to be reflective with them. And that, as we all know, is very helpful in life. All right, here's an example. This is a group 4 project. These pictures are from a couple of years ago, but students from the 4 different sciences that we offer, physics, sports exercise, health science, biology, and computer science, get together and they solve a problem and create, well, Navy, did you do this year?
Yes, I did. And it
Can
was
you
a
tell
lot
us?
of fun.
Okay, tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about it.
So basically they choose the science teachers from all the IB sciences, choose the students to be in your group for you. So you're doing this group project with complete strangers. And at first I was super nervous about it because I don't like talking to strangers, or I have a very hard time, with that and like making friends. So I was super nervous. And they make a list, they group you with juniors and seniors, and you have 2 days where you get to meet up with your group and exchange contact info. And from there on, you're with your group, like planning, texting at all hours of the day about your project. And the actual day is so much more fun than I ever anticipated. My group specifically, we just all clicked. And so it was so much fun to do this project with them. And it wasn't as overwhelming as I thought it would be, because we have the entire day to do this project. We're excused from all our classes. And it was just a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed the experience. So
great. And you had people from the 4 different sciences in your one group trying to investigate a science question?
yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for sharing. Okay. You get lots of lab, hands-on lab and IB bio. International Baccalaureate Biology and Psychology are our 2 largest HL pathways right now. We also have quite a few people who do math, and and computer science is growing as well. But this biology, they do quite a bit of labs, and that the students really like the hands-on laboratory experiments. Internationalism, of course, is a focus in all the classes. I've talked a little bit about this. One of the things that really stands out about the curriculum is in IB English. They actually have to study 5 works in translation. So these are pieces of literature that were originally written in another language and then have been translated for our students to read. This really highlights that global perspective. Also, one of the major requirements is that students are required a 4th year of language in order to do the full project, the full IB diploma. So as long as a student is in year 2 language right now, or wishes to advance in some other capacity, 4 years of a language is required. So we're getting into the nitty gritty. 6 classes from the 5 disciplines, and 1 art or a second science, social science, or language class. 3 have to be studied at the higher level, meaning for 2 years, and 3 are SL for 1 year equivalent. The theory of knowledge class, the extended essay, which we heard Addison talk about, and creativity, action, and service. So Angelina, I'm going to call on you can you tell us about your extended essay? Or you could also talk about something from your CAS portfolio if you like.
Well, I could just briefly talk about CAS since that hasn't been talked about much, but I found CAS to be extremely helpful in establishing and keeping track of all the hours of all the extracurriculars I do. And when I was applying to colleges like a few months ago, it was really nice to be able to reference and use that for my college application process. But basically what it is so I already kind of do a lot of extracurriculars. In terms of action, that would be a sport. So I play tennis. In terms of service, I do Common Good Tutors, which is a tutoring club. And in terms of creativity, I play piano. So those are 3 examples of things where I would enter them into a program called Manage Back. And essentially, I just keep track of how many hours and I reflect on how I've grown as a person. So I think that CAS is really important in becoming super well-rounded. And if I realize that I'm spending too much time in action, it kind of encourages me to spend more time doing things like creativity. So it's kind of building that well-roundedness. And overall, I think that it may seem a little tedious at first, but I think that it's helped me grow and keep track of everything I do, encourage me to do more activities and becoming well-rounded. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's really good. Okay, so the options at CHS, you might visit the International Baccalaureate website and realize that there are a plethora of classes that schools can offer. But because the IB is this global entity and they really are about local accountability as well and school buy-in, schools select the courses that work for them to offer. At Claremont High School, we're one of the 12 most local schools that offer the IB diploma program, but we have one of the most robust course offerings because the large size of our student body that participates. Over 12% of the juniors and seniors currently are taking the full International Baccalaureate Diploma program at Claremont High School, and over 35% of students in the 11th and 12th grade take at least one International Baccalaureate course. So as we're having this discussion tonight and going over things, please be aware that if your student does not want to take the entire commitment of International Baccalaureate Diploma, they can be what we call a course student, and they can register with their counselor for an IB class, and they can focus on an area that maybe they really are into. For instance, I have quite a few students who just want to take computer science or just art, and they really want to hyper focus on that, and that becomes kind of their core class, and they just take the remainder of their classes that are required by the state of California. So that is one option that we haven't really discussed much tonight, but these are the courses we offer. So Spanish, French, and German, biology, physics, sports, exercise, and health science, computer science, visual arts, IB music, history of the Americas, psychology, math, applications and interpretations, math analysis, and I'm stumped right now, but Angelina, what's the AA?
Approaches.
Okay, I was just too much for one night. All students at Claremont High School are required to take 2 of the same HLs, History of America and English. We require those because the state of California also requires those. So if you're going to have to do 2 years in your last years of history and is also English, and so then students select their 3rd choice for their HL. This all sounds like a lot of detail, and it is. So if this seems like too much, I am in my office for the next week at lunch, and any student who wants to come and work out a plan of what they might want to do or what classes they might want to select, they can come in at lunchtime. They can also send me an email, and I can try to call them from class if lunch didn't work for some reason, but I am in my office and I can help students make these plans before they commit to anything. Math, there's kind of 2 different math pathways. I prefer the pie chart version, so I'm going to show you this screen. Analysis and approaches, the AA class, is going to focus on some calculus, but also developments of math, numbers, functions, geometry, statistics. So you're not just getting a calculus class with math AA, you're getting a little bit more than that. That is because when the IB did their research, they found that universities were unhappy with a singular focus of math from students, that they weren't able to computate how to solve problems without a certain type of math because they had such a limited background. So these IB classes are designed to introduce students to more math concepts at a higher level. From there, if you take that class as a junior, you can go on to AAHL as a senior. And then I'll talk about some of the prerequisites, if you will, or the pathways. So right now, if you're a student in pre-calculus and you're a sophomore, your next step is to take Math AA. If you are a student in IM2, you might want to take IM3 next year, and then Math AI your senior year. Math AI is a slightly different math class. It still has some calculus, but you'll notice the number for statistics goes up, functions of algebra goes up, and geometry increases as well, or decreases, but increases in the AA class. So really, ideally, what I ask students is, what is your plan for college? What's your field towards math? And we work out kind of what they've taken, how they've done in math so far, and then try to place them in the appropriate math version of the class. Students take TOK. I like to focus on this. It's kind of this truth and belief and kind of what's in the middle and how we know what we know. For a lot of us older folks in the room, this is kind of epistemology course, but it's the center of IB and the core of the program. I'm not going to go through that today. All right. When I ask alumni what they've benefited from the program, you can see that they have identified some of these skills. And I thought it was interesting that the largest portion of skill was research. Students who've graduated from our program, so they go off to college and they feel most secure. But what I thought was really great is pretty much everything is really in a high range aside from social skills. So clearly this gives me some feedback. We got to work on, social skills and making friends.
I disagree. I think my social skills are great. I think that's
well, that's why you've been invited on this call.
Those are the COVID kids. Don't sell me out.
This does include a couple of years where things were really rough with COVID. That is an interesting outlier. All right, so let's talk about what some schedules could look like. You do not have to take the highest level of all 6 areas. So you can kind of see some sample schedules here. I have a student in their junior year taking English, history, biology, Spanish, pre-calculus, psychology, and then they're taking TOK. So there's an example, and then a senior year example as well. I've got some more, so I'm going to go through this. These are actual schedules that students have right now. This is Miss Abear's suggestion that I throw these in here, so hopefully you guys see this. So this is a senior taking English and history and German, and then they've got Math AAHL, they've got English, History of the Americas, and Computer Science HL. So this is a full day. This is a 0 through 6 period schedule.
And it's an example of a student who's taking 4 HL classes, not the 3 that is required. They're going above and beyond.
Correct. Thank you for pointing that out. Here's bio with choir. So you can see here, this is a student who is in Math AISL. They're in history, theory of knowledge, German. They have English, music, which is co-seated with chamber singers, biology, and then the rest of the classes are off for the day. So I get a lot of students who say like, well, can I still do this or that and be an IB? And it's case by case what you're willing to do, how you're willing to map out your classes, but also if you're willing to have 7 classes both years. Here's another student with a yearbook in their schedule, kind of shows what they did. This particular student, you'll notice, has no world language because they were able to finish that in their junior year. And so it opened up a spot for them to have the yearbook on their schedule. Here's another senior with HL psychology. Addison, I think, is this your schedule? I think this might be yours.
It's Ava's schedule.
Oh, okay, close. And you'll see this student has 3rd period AP statistics, which is not an IB class, but this student was done with their IB math. They took the math class they needed in their junior year and said, I'm out, I don't want to do any more IB math. And they took an AP math class because colleges want to see 4 years of math, no matter what kind of math you're taking. So these are all really good examples of what a schedule could look like. Here's another one with an art student. You can see they've got math in the morning. It goes all the way through and they have visual arts. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. We've talked about creativity, action, and service. This is some of the examples, but Angelina did a great job talking about it. Here's the students' kind of cover page of some of the things that they were involved in. You have another student here who also did her CAS projects and kind of covered different things. We have a banquet at the end of the year and the students make a 1-page slide kind of highlighting their service. During the pandemic, a student made a YouTube channel just basically trying things that he wanted to learn, like how to make ice cream, and recorded his failures and his wins and had interviews and learned to sew and did all kinds of things virtually. So the show did not stop. We just kept going. It's pretty wild. All right, the extended essay is one of the requirements. This is worked on in the TOK class. It's a 4,000 word essay of the student's choice. I think we've covered this pretty well tonight, so I'm going to move on from this as well. All right, the numbers, the nitty gritty, what everyone wants to know. So when we look at kind of AP versus IB, and I would like to just be clear here. I am the IB program coordinator. My job is to support this program, and I wouldn't be working in this capacity if I didn't fully believe in what IB offers. I taught AP for 12 years before I did teach IB. They are completely different organizations with completely different focuses. And there are some things in common. Both of them are going to be hard. I mean, point blank, your students will study, they will work hard, and they will have challenges in their academics, no matter what coursework they take. For the similarities, they also are only awarded college credit based on their performance. So whether you sit for an AP exam or an IB exam, you have to do so well to even get that college credit should it be offered by a university. So that's an important thing. People often say, oh, well, not everybody takes IB credit. Well, not everyone passes AP exams either. So it's a little bit of both. And then both of them have an external exam that they take in May. I think the major differences with IB are there's independent coursework. This is a program. You have a cohort. You have teachers who work together and meet together regularly to make sure that the materials overlap within classes. Just last week, we were working on some math in my psychology class, and students were referencing the math that they had learned in their math class for IB and showing how the two work together. All IB classes have an external assessment, so their grade that they're awarded is not just the exam in May, but it's also some coursework they've done throughout the year. It is a very, very strenuous senior year. So with AP, many of the classes that are rigorous are taken junior year, and then there's a few AP classes peppered in senior year. The difference with IB is senior year is no picnic. It is very difficult. And so colleges see that and think, okay, this is a student who's been working hard throughout the 2 years of the last 2 years of high school. There is no kind of riding that wave into graduation. I mean, they are running full speed like a sprint. And then of course, CAS, TOK, and the extended essay are solely part of IB, but not part of AP, not here at Claremont. And then there's the numbers. So when we look at scores, this is taken from our school profile. This is public record information. The IB exam pass rate for last year was 87%. The percent of students who pass AP exams is 71%. Obviously, the nature of these exams is entirely different, and the sheer number of students who take AP exams is very different than IB exams. One of those major differences is that in order to take an AP exam, you just buy an AP exam. So if you are in high school and you would like to take an AP exam, they will sell you one. If you are in the IB program, you have to be enrolled in the course, and the coordinator has to sign you up for those exams. And they are exclusive to students in those courses. So it's very different who takes them. That could explain the statistics of the turnout, but it also just explains a little bit about our results. Students at Claremont High School do very well in IB, and many students get the diploma. Typically upwards of 80% each year receive the full International Baccalaureate diploma. All right, in order to get that diploma, which we get into the details here, students need to score a minimum of a 3 out of 7 on their SLs, 12 points total, a minimum of 4 on their HLs. They need to pass TOK and extended essay, and they need to finish CAS. So overall, 24 points. The maximum is 45. So to get 24 points is really attainable. Our average here in the last 3 years at Claremont High School has been 30 points is our average points students get altogether. So again, this cohesive program isn't just about, okay, getting really good scores everywhere. It's about together, can you get 24 points? And let's say math is a challenge for you. So maybe your math score is a little lower, but you're a rock star in psychology. So that score balances out to be more of an overall approach to how you've learned rather than kind of being individually judged by each of your courses. All right, here I've just kind of screenshotted some ways that students have received the diploma. You can see here this student in the top left, they took Spanish, They did a history E where they got a C on it, and they ended up getting 35 points and they got their diploma. Okay, I see some as low as 27 on this screen where a student kind of looked like they struggled a little bit more on some of the exams. And then like a 3 in mathematics, but a 3 is still passing, even though you can see that was a struggle area for them. Man, did they do great in history. They got a 6 in history. So this is just a prime example of how students can be more well-rounded rather than excel in every single area and then be awarded the diploma. All right. The exams for IB are $120 a piece. That has not changed in the last 5 years. I don't anticipate it changing, but should it shouldn't be much of an increase. They're comparable. I can't remember off the top of my head how much an AP exam is, but they're somewhere in a similar range. If anyone knows.
$100 this year.
Thank you, $100. All right. So let's see. Ms. Abear, I wanted you to talk a little bit about colleges and IB, which I have this screenshot here about kind of what the universities see on our Common App when a student does the IB program.
Okay, so at Claremont High School, when counselors submit documents for students who are applying to colleges, first, there's a document called the school profile that every school has, and that's part of the document submission. The school profile outlines some characteristics of our school, our size, our region, how many AP, how many IB courses we offer. It includes pass rates on AP and IB exams, the percentage of our students who fulfill a college preparatory program, how many students also go to four-year colleges versus work and the military. So the school profile has that. This screenshot here is part of the school report, which is a separate document that counselors submit when students are applying to colleges. And under here, under academics, this particular student has a rank of number 12 in their high school class of 587. And it's stated here that this is a weighted GPA, and IB classes are all weighted. That means that students who earn a C or better in an IB class, as well as AP classes and honors world language year 3, have an extra point to a C, B, or A grade. So a C is now worth 3 points, a B is worth 4, and an A is worth 5 points. That's how students have a GPA higher than a 4.0 in high school. Below the rank, you'll see GPA. This particular student has a 4.333 weighted GPA. And we also give some information to colleges what our passing grade is. At CHS, the passing grade is D. And the highest GPA in our senior class this year has a 4.528. This is information colleges like to see because it gives them context to the applicant relative to their school. And on the school report, and this is from the Common Application, a platform that many students used this year for their college applications, we do indicate that students, if they are doing IB diploma, we indicate so on the school report. And the IB diploma program is perceived by colleges as being the most demanding because of the multiple requirements to be an IB diploma candidate: the coursework, the test scores, the CAS, the EE. So that is in a very brief overview how IB diploma is viewed by colleges, and what it can be an opportunity both for improved chances for admission, but more importantly, the students who do IB at Claremont High School, the feedback we get consistently is college was not as hard as I worried it would be, that they end up in college very happy, very successful, and manage their college course load with greater ease and confidence because of the experience in high school.
Thank you so much. Such a great answer. I think I want to stop and answer. We have a question on the screen from Eli, our guest. It talked about which of the IB and AP is seen as more rigorous by colleges. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I would argue that it's negligible to argue that there's any university would say one is more than the other. I think that it's generally known that IB classes are more heavy in writing, that you will get extensive writing practice in IB and research practice. AP is known more to be kind of the opposite. It's study and exams more so than anything else. AP is changing that slowly, but both of them are highly regarded. Here in the United States, those are really the two options. In a lot of Europe, it's A levels as well. They're all seen as more advanced coursework, and students are going to be praised for doing the more advanced coursework for college admissions. Again, AP US History versus HOTA, AP English versus HL English. It really has more to do about the way the courses are taught, not if they're really equal level as far as weight goes. They're exactly the same weighting. So universities make those choices for themselves. It's not something that you can say here that one would be better than the other. Another question on the screen is about if students with IEPs and accommodations such as text-to-speech on tests get the same accommodations for IB exams. And if they can't, then could they take IB classes but not take the tests? So there's kind of two questions there. First of all, any student that is requiring accommodations for a 504 or IEP would absolutely be able to apply for accommodations for AP, ACT, SAT, IB exams. That does go through my office if they're an IB student. So absolutely, text-to-speech is something that can be an accommodation. If a student would like to take an IB class, but they would not like to take the test for IB, they absolutely can. I currently have 2 sections of SL psychology, and only about 20 of those students in one section are taking the IB exam. The rest of the students who are auditing the class, they're taking the class, they're doing all the coursework, they're taking all the exams in class, but they're not going to sit for the May exam. They weren't interested in the $120, or they just weren't interested in taking the exam for whatever reason. Okay. Keep those questions coming. We're almost done here. So if you really like to have a well-rounded, challenging curriculum, if you like to make your extracurricular activities, a motivation and a habit, if you've had success in honors class, this isn't required, but it might be if you've really enjoyed honors classes, maybe this is something next for you. If you really like reading, if you have good reading skills, you really like to apply yourself, and of course, the desire to take that world language through a 4th year. I'm pretty sure one of my students, any of you want to speak up to this, having a 4th year language can be difficult and can be really challenging. So if anyone wants to pop in on that one, I would say that recently post-COVID has really been a challenge for students, is their second language or their world language.
So I'll speak on this because this has been my challenge this year. Both Brody and Angelina know that, and Navy. So Navy and I are in the same Spanish class this year. We're both in the 4th level Spanish with Maestra Suarez. And I had Spanish over sophomore year was my long COVID year. So that was where a lot of my fundamental Spanish was supposed to be created and where I was supposed to learn how to speak this language. And it did not go well for me. I came into junior year and I was wiped out. It was difficult, and I'm coming into senior year and it is definitely my hardest challenge, but it is still so attainable for me. There is always not accommodations, but Maestra Suarez is always ready to help me in any way, shape, or form. Everyone in the class is very comforting and helpful, and it's really important to learn that fourth year of your language. Like, I didn't think I needed it, but especially Spanish, because we have because there are so many Spanish speakers here in California, I am using my Spanish sometimes on a daily to weekly basis because I'm speaking to people who need where instead of them trying to accommodate to my language, I want to be able to accommodate to them. And I think that that's really important in becoming this global aspect, but also just being considerate of all the people around me. But yeah.
I would also add on to that by saying last year I took that Spanish course as well, that 4th year. And the learning curve was definitely harder because I also missed like fundamental parts of like again, just like learning and phrases and structure, right? Like over COVID. But it was such a wonderful class, I think, because we were able to like overcome those challenges. And additionally, we were able to immerse ourselves in Hispanic culture. And that like added on to the global engagement and awareness. Like I truly learned a lot about South American countries, like Spain even. And I think that it's beautiful, like that we are able to understand and kind of gain a new perspective in that regard. And additionally, when it came down to like the IB exams that happened at the end of the year, Maestra Vieira was really diligent in having us prepare for those. So when those came around, it wasn't like a huge shock that we were completely like unprepared for. Like we had spent months prepping for that 15-minute oral exam that we had to give. And ultimately, even though it's been a year, I still remember those terms and I still can speak Spanish pretty fluently. So I would attribute that to that IB class.
Thank you.
Can I add?
Yeah, please do.
So I'm a native Spanish speaker, and for me personally, I was in Heritage 1 and 2 my freshman and sophomore year, and that was a little bit harder for me because I had to relearn like the structure and how to speak formally. And a lot of that was based on Spain Spanish. And I feel like in IB Spanish, I have a little more room to bring in my own like Mexican Spanish because it is different from how they speak in Spain. And I really like that. And so I think that's what makes it easier for me as a native speaker because I'm not getting corrected all the time about like the certain vocabulary I use. And I love how IB Spanish is more focused on how you speak it rather than the vocabulary. We speak a lot in that class, especially with our orals coming up. And I love that with our exams, we get to have our IB oral exams earlier than our other exams in May. It's something that I'm looking forward to. So.
Okay, we have a question in the chat and I'm going to put this on the students because I don't think I can answer this. We do try to have a balanced program. One of the things that we do, the question is, it seems cool, but can you address burnout and stress? So obviously this is something that the IB is aware that is a challenge. There's current things happening which would affect the class of 2025, things like open book exams where there's approved lists of notes from teachers for each course that then get published for the exam, and students actually have essentially notes that they get to go off of for exams. As the world is changing and memorizing is becoming less important and being able to know where to look for things is becoming largely important. They are changing with the times. That hasn't happened yet, but is on the horizon. I think I want the students to answer though, how do you address burnout and stress? What have you seen in your peers? How are you managing it? And do you feel like now, especially my seniors, now that you've gone through it all the way, almost, do you feel like it's been manageable or not, or have there been times that are really bad? Angelina, why don't you start? You've got your mic on.
Yeah, I would just very briefly say that it comes in waves, which is like a good thing and a bad thing. So there are periods of time where it can get really intense and there's a lot of things going on at the same time. But I think that even that's kind of a benefit compared to like AP, let's say, because all of it kind of accumulates to the big AP exam, whereas IB exams are more spread out through the course of the year and there's like a schedule that teachers follow. So like they designate these 2 months for this specific investigation and then another 2 months. So it's just kind of like adjusting. But I think that my greatest tip would just to stay on track when it comes to deadlines, because if you can't keep up with those deadlines, then the 2 months that are like available and like corresponded to that specific investigation, it can get like really messy. But yeah, I think that it's pretty manageable and a lot more forgiving than AP is. And I don't think that I've faced like incredible stress and burnout. That could just be like my own personal experience, but others can share as well.
If I could share from the school counseling perspective, periodically students choose IB diploma and for various reasons decide not to keep it. That's happened. And usually there's a graceful exit and, the transcript is not damaged. Their plans are not altered significantly. They make a graceful exit.
Yeah, we have a pretty low attrition rate. I would say in junior year, when TOK starts, there's a few people who drop out. And then in the summer between junior and senior year, there's an extended essay really goes heavy then. And that's when students kind of say, I don't really want to do this. And so then we have a few students leave. But there's quite a bit of support built in throughout the way too, if you need it. Bridget, were you going to speak? Go ahead.
I was, I think similar to like what Angelina said, it's a lot, but it does come in waves. And I feel like the waves often are planned, and teachers, because of IB, I feel coordinate with each other, and you can communicate that to your teachers. And in my experience, they've been pretty responsive. If you say, the IB biology IA is due on this Friday, most of your other teachers will then be understanding and think, okay, well then I'll move the test till the Monday after it's due, or XYZ. And I think also one great thing that helps with burnout and just the social aspect of it is you really are all in it together, which is a sort of unity that just comes with having so many classes together and also being united by the same hard things. Like when you are working on your extended essay, so is everybody else. And I know lots and lots of people, myself included, who will often hang out in groups with other IB people to go to Honnold, to the library in the Claremont colleges, to work on IB things together, or just go to other places to study and hang out together because you're all doing the same work and you're all going through the same stress. And I think it's nice to go through that with a community rather than just feel like you're floundering on your own, because your teachers know what's going on and you're surrounded by people who are just as stressed as you are. So if you take the advice Angelina said about just staying on top of your work and trying your best to not let it pile up, which I know is easier said than done, but I think it really is manageable. And you're surrounded on top of that by people who also want to succeed and are doing the same hard things, it becomes very manageable. And I think you actually make a lot of friends in that process. There are people I know now who, when I started IB junior year, I had no idea who they were. And now they're some of my closest friends. So I think the community that comes with it in and of itself kind of mitigates the burnout and the stress that inevitably comes with difficult classes.
Wow.
I'm gonna do the last spiel, Miss Sieg.
Okay.
So I'm going to say I've had a lot of mental health issues in the past couple of years. Like COVID was difficult. I know we all know that, but it definitely hit my learning really hard. And it was a really big consideration when I was coming into the IB program, because I was like, is this going to be too much? Because I have other activities like speech and debate and theater, and I want to be able to do everything and know that I'm going to be happy and safe in my own life. And I really will say, what makes this program is the teachers. I do not know a single teacher that I have today that would not do anything to help me get through this program and help me succeed at the drop of a hat. Like, I know that the teachers that I've had in the past have cared about me, but not to the same extent that this community has. Like, I really can't stress that enough. And of course, Brody talked about sorry, we call her Brody, but Brody talked about the community with the students. I was really scared coming into high school that I wasn't going to have like a strict community with friends where I knew everybody's name and I was going to be supported. But I know all 70 kids that are full IB diploma candidates in my grade by name, and I could probably tell you their extracurriculars and maybe even some of the classes that they do, because we're all here together and we all know we're gonna do it well.
I want to speak a little bit about the community, because it is really such a strong community within IB, and you get a lot of help within the students. I know for my IB history class, all of the IB history, or most of the IB history students, we have a group chat. And so we send each other like all our Quizlets for tests, and we send each other like our notes and stuff like that, and websites we find that can help with like our geography test. And it's just really helpful having that, because it's good seeing like everyone's notes, for example, because you can see stuff that you missed while Mr. Thomas, my history teacher, was lecturing. And I really love that about the IB program.
Great. There was a question earlier about, really was it worth it from alumni? And I do have alumni survey that is sent out every year. And I think the most shocking thing to me as a finding in the last survey was students saying that maybe a IB program at Claremont High School was harder than their college experience. Just because the sheer number of classes and the hours you are in class are so vast compared to college level, like time frame, not the academic work, of course, but the time frame in classes. So it's an interesting perspective shift for students, because they feel like they have so much more time to then engage in those social activities at university. There was also a question, and I know it got answered, but I just wanted to address it. Plenty of students from Claremont High School go on to four-year universities, but many go to two-year universities right out of high school, which financially is a great option for a lot of families as well. And just maturity wise, not everyone knows what they want to do. So it really helps to kind of investigate that at a local junior college. All of the local junior colleges around us have honors programs, and coming from IB to an honors program can really accelerate you through and help you have some focus. So it absolutely can benefit. Again, kind of going back to the beginning of the presentation, just one of the maybe 10 reasons why you would do IB is that college pathway. So much of it is about skills for life and life after college. And so I'm hoping we get a few more questions, but I will kind of wrap up with this. With my own particular students, because I teach the psychology class, we talk a lot about, you have a whole life to live, and college is maybe 4 to 8 years of maybe 10, depending on what you want to do, of that life. And the skills that you'll learn studying and researching and communicating with others and working with groups, those are going to go well beyond any academic career that you have. And so really focusing on building those. And about the burnout, we talk about balance. One of the reasons we added the psychology classes in HL was really to help students make that part of their lives. There's a theme in that class to learn to de-stress. So every Wednesday, it's a little focus on wellness, and we practice actionable things that we can do to reduce stress. And that class focuses in on that. And it's been really quite an enjoyable journey learning to do that with the students. So I'm going to stop talking, and we'll see if there's more questions that we can answer.
I'm going to jump in here real quick, because I'm going to talk about, I am not the first IB candidate in my family. My brother, he graduated from Claremont as a full IB. He got the diploma, and he graduated during the COVID year. So it didn't really, that was a little sucky for him, but it was okay. He went into UCLA. He is in the physics and computer science. He's double majoring, and he also interns at JPL. And I will say he's a little crazy. Okay. No, not all of us do that. Okay. I'm going into the humanities. He's different, but he says that he's met people from IB, from India, from Indiana, from South Carolina. He's met people from all over the world that have done IB that now go to UCLA. And he says that every single one of them knew that program was one of the reasons that they were able to get through programs in college, and also like why they were able to go to UCLA and why they wanted to. Because I think that one of the things that we do as humans is we put ourselves down just so easily. And this program really just builds you up and says, like, look at how many hard things you did. There's no way colleges are going to reject you, man. You're so good at school. You're so good at all these different things. You're well-rounded. You do activity, you do service, you have creativity. So it's something that really can put you just not only like one step up in the world, but one step up in your head, to know that you've accomplished something, whether or not you do one class or you do the full diploma, you've accomplished something that's difficult and that not everyone else is doing. And I think that that's something that's really important to take into consideration.
Good job.
Miss C, can I add one thing really quickly?
Yes, I love that you guys don't want to stop talking.
Just so many praises to sing. Addison, the testimony of her brother, who I've met, is really cool, by the way. Yes, he is that cool in real life. I think IB, what makes it very unique is the fact also from an international standpoint, it opens so many doors for you and isn't dependent on your residency or citizenship. A very good friend of mine did the IB course, graduated last year, was a full IB candidate, and actually was from Brazil. Lots of classmates of mine are not actually citizens of the United States or are non-permanent residents. My close friend was a citizen from Brazil, never obtained citizenship or permanent residency in the United States. And when he did IB, it was really cool both watching him. He decided to take SL math, not even HL math, SL math. And that, I don't know, it awakened some passion for math in him. And he was really, really bent on studying it and didn't really know what his options were as an international student, as a non-US citizen. And because he did IB and the IB diploma, it unlocked literally the entire world. And he applied to schools in Spain, in the Netherlands. He settled on a school in Italy, a school in Rome. And right now he's studying computer science and artificial intelligence. And the only real reason that he's in Rome was because of the IB diploma, was because when he was applying to schools, they said, okay, cool. What are your SL scores? What are your HL scores? Are you going to get this diploma? It is recognized all over the world. And so him being a non-US citizen didn't really hold him back at all, because the IB diploma compensated for that and let him literally travel the world. And you know, we're still in touch. He tells me all about all the things he's learned, and he knows people from all over the world now who also have taken IB, like Addison's brother and all the people he met. So for those of you who are watching, who maybe, I know Southern California is such a diverse place and many people are not permanent residents or citizens. The IB diploma, I think, is a great option to sort of just work with that and explore the world, especially because other schools, international schools, sometimes specialize in certain things or can be a lot more affordable, quite frankly. So citizen or not, I think that's a really useful aspect that sometimes gets lost because we're so US centric, which makes sense. But I want to sort of bring it back up into the light that it's a super good option if you're not a US citizen, or if you are and you just want to explore what the rest of the world has to offer. IB is very good at that.
Thank you. That was awesome. Yeah, I think from last year's class, we have students in Rome, Argentina, Canada is popular for my students with Canadian residency. It's quite economically advantageous to study in Canada. And we've got quite a few in Scotland, England. Students really do like that opportunity. And then next year we'll have the Netherlands as well. Somebody's going there. So it's kind of exciting. All right, well, it has been an hour, and I'm sure that if you have some specific questions, you've had a chance. I'll stay on for just a couple of minutes. I want to thank my students, Mr. Troche and Ms. Hebert, for being here tonight and helping us run this webinar. I hope all of your questions have been answered. We have recorded this evening. It will be posted. Mr. Troche is going to post it to the YouTube channel, and then we will also post the link on the Claremont High School Diploma Program website as well. And I might just send it out to all the 10th graders just so they have it in case. So if there are any last questions, we'll take those.
One persistent question is the balance of SL and HL. And I don't know if it might be useful to go back to that one slide just to kind of round that out for parents and students who may be listening. But it's certainly something I know that Mrs. Sieg addresses. She has a worksheet. If you see her, I have the worksheets in the office too. So students are welcome to also see their counselors, see me, to kind of outline what junior year and senior year in full IB diploma could look like. It feels like a lot when we talk about it in an hour, but it really is manageable. and the perception that you have to take the hardest classes in every subject area is not true. So thank you.
True. I'm trying to get back to that slide. So just a second. Bear with me.
As a counselor, and Mr. Trosh will probably also echo this, is if you're a sophomore and you like to learn, you like to reflect, you like classes where there's discussion, you like to be challenged, if you're in Math 2 or higher, or if you are in a second year world language currently as a sophomore, please think about IB Diploma. You have those basic characteristics to be successful and find your path in IB in the next 2 years. The higher level course is one course that you will select for the next 2 years. Claremont High School arranges our IB Diploma program to have IB English as one HL, History of the Americas is the second HL every student does at our school, and you choose your area for the third HL or higher level course.
So I've created this little bit of a tutorial, and I'll just kind of go over it towards the end here. Essentially, the students all select 6 classes. Some of those are pre-filled, as Ms. Aber was just said, and they also take theory of knowledge. So on the next slide, what you'll see is that automatically students have to be in History of the Americas and English literature. These numbers on the side correspond with the groups. So eventually they need to have a 1 through 5, and 6 being optional. And any of the 1 through 5 can repeat 1 time. Bear with me. So the first 2 HLs are automatically selected for our students here at Claremont High School. And then they have their third choice. And that could be biology, computer science, visual art, music, psychology, or math analysis. Some of these options for HL are not options for all students because of whatever math level they are at, or like some students just have no interest in computer science. Biology tends to really grab our students who are looking for STEM field careers. Visual arts tends to really get students who do not want to do STEM careers. Psychology is a little bit of that, like in between, right? Maybe I want to do neuroscience, but maybe I also don't, and I want to become a, counselor. These are just different options. The math really is a smaller portion. Music is a smaller portion. Art is kind of a smaller group as well, and computer science, because they're really such niche areas that students are interested in. The world language is the next area. You can see here, you would either need to get to Spanish B, French B, or German B, which is 4th year equivalent. And everybody picks one of those. And then you're left with 2 classes that you would pick as an SL. So here's where it gets a little confusing. If I select, and I'm going to go ahead and draw on this, biology, that's a group 4 subject. And it has a little 4 after it, you can see, which means over here on my SL list, I now need to pick not from the group 4. I need to pick something that's a group. Well, what am I missing? I'm missing a 5 and a 6. So group 5 is going to be math. So I already have talked to me, and I know I'm going to take math AI, and that's my group 5. So now I can decide to take a group 6. I could take IB music, or I could take visual arts. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take another science because I really want to take physics. I've really wanted to study that. So I've got now my entire 6 classes, but I've got a 1, a 2. Hold on, I'll put my little pointer on. A 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, and now a second 4 to make sure that I have all my classes in order. I've got 3 HLs that are on this side, and I have 3 SLs that are on this side. And I didn't mark that I was in French. En français, écoutez, répétez. There we go. So that's a little bit of how we do a planner. So this I have in my office, and I sit with students and kind of plan these things out and help them make their decisions. All right, we do have a question. The visual arts class is taught by Ms. Wanacott. There is information on the web page on the course description. You can also look up the course guide from IB about what's included, but the art class, I can tell you, is a production class. So they actually produce art. They curate their own work exhibit, and they also do a comparative study between two different artists. So you're getting some of that academic art investigation piece, but they're also creating art. And then number 6, somebody's asking me, what about number 6? Number 6 is optional area. So this needs to have little, let's see, where did I type that? This needs to have these little parentheses around it, excuse me, because 6 is an optional area. So you're not required to take a course from the 6 group. You can, but you do not have to. And I don't know why I can't, there we go, just get rid of that right now since it's not letting me edit it, but you would select a 4 and a 5, and then a 6 can be optional. Many students choose music and art as a 6th area, or some students choose 6 as their HL. And that's just a little bit of just designing what works for students. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming to our presentation. If you have questions, I will go ahead and put my email address back up on the screen for the final minute or so. If you don't want to send me an email, there I am. It's my COVID picture. I don't have that office anymore because my son wanted one of my sons wanted their own room. So now I come back to my office here. Come on. All right, there we are. There's my email address should you want to contact me. I've got some more questions.
Thanks, Ms. Sieg.
Thank you so much. I'll let my students go. I'm sure they have plenty of IAs to be working on. There's a question about music. So music, they can be in orchestra and take IB music. Those things can run parallel together. Yes.
It can also be choral music as well for IB music, SL and HL.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming this evening and all of your wonderful questions. And I look forward to working with your students. Thank you so much.